This video is sponsored by Element. Y'all, we're making chocolate truffles. Come on! Welcome to Highfalutin Low Carb, the almost weekly web series where we find and test the best low carb recipes this crazy internet has to offer. Today, we're tackling low carb chocolate truffles. Stay tuned. All right, guys, low carb chocolate truffles. I believe we've done a lot of chocolate desserts here before, but I don't think we've ever done chocolate truffles. So we're going to test those today. I wanted a dessert that was easy to portion, not so tempting to have a huge servings of a cake or a pie or some family-sized dessert to tempt Wesley to go keep going to the refrigerator for. These are quick little bites. They're easy, they're fast, they go together really quickly, and one of these has a very unusual ingredient, so you'll want to stick around for that one. Both of these are called Keto Chocolate Truffles. The first of those comes to us from a website called fit2servegroup.com. This recipe is highly rated there, and we've done a few of their recipes before and they've turned out quite well. The second recipe is from the popular website delish.com, also very highly rated. Also, that's the one with the unique ingredient. So without further delay, let's get right into these and start chocolate truffles. All right, guys, so let's get started on this first recipe. Again, this is Keto Chocolate Truffles. This is by the website fit2servegroup.com. I'm going to leave a link here on the screen. It's also going to be in the video description below and in the pinned comment below, so you can be able to link right out to these and get exact measurements for everything we make here today. Now, both of these recipes start by making basically a ganache, a chocolate ganache. Then we let that sort of chill in the fridge to set up, scoop them out, and then we're going to roll them in some cocoa powder, maybe some crushed nuts or coconut, some sort of outer coating so that you don't get too much on your fingers while you're enjoying your truffle. So this first recipe starts out, and I usually don't give ingredients because I want you to go to their website, but this was unique. It calls for 4.5 ounces of heavy cream, but not 4.5 liquid ounces. It specifically says 4.5 ounces by weight. So that's what I've done here. You can heat this in a pot on the stove, or you can just throw it in the microwave. You do not want it to come to a boil. You just want it to get very hot. So I'm going to throw this in the microwave in 30-second increments and stir just between them and get this super hot, and I'll be right back.
A few moments later.
So our cream is super duper hot, and here we're going to add in 9 ounces of sugar-free chocolate, not unsweetened, sugar-free. That means it's been sweetened with a non-nutritive sweetener like stevia. I'm going to use Lily's. You can probably use the milk chocolate style if you like a sweeter and less bitter tasting, but I'm going to use the dark chocolate Lily's in both of these recipes. I got to kind of move fast because what you're wanting is to go ahead and throw all of this chocolate into this hot cream and let it sit for just a second so that it melts. So we're going to just kind of wait on this to do its thing here. Again, Lily's is what I use. There are lots of different options now. Locanto has some. Bake Believe is a name that I've seen at like Walmart and some other stores that are sweetened with stevia and or erythritol. So that's what we're looking for here. You don't want to move this around too much, but I do want to get these submerged in the hot cream, and then we're going to slowly whisk this when it starts to melt some, and you don't want to be too vigorous with the whisking. That can cause it to break loose, break apart, and seize on you, and you don't want to do that. So I'm just going to let this sit for 20 or 30 seconds, and we'll be right back and attack this with a whisk. Okay, it appears things are starting to melt, so I'm going to slowly stir this and try to incorporate this. We want something that's silky smooth and glossy, and that's when we know the ganache is ready. And then we're going to add in some butter at the end. We're trying not to let this seize. If it gets a little ugly on you, you probably can put it back in the microwave for 10-15 seconds, but hopefully we won't have to do that here. Okay, probably wanted to get a little smoother than that, but we are what this is what we're doing here. So we're going to try this, and if this goes awry, we'll try this again. I brought an extra package of chips for this very reason, but I wanted to see if this was possible to do in the microwave. Now, to this, we're going to add in a little bit of butter. This is 1.5 tablespoons of butter that is almost at room temperature, and you want this to melt in slowly, not become an oil on top, and this will sort of add a nice, soft, unctuous flavor to the chocolate. Needs to be an unsalted butter. Now also, this is where you can add, an extract of your type. It doesn't call for vanilla, but you could put a vanilla extract in it. I've seen some with brandy or rum in them, or even like orange extract or peppermint extract if you want a peppermint truffle. I love orange and dark chocolate flavor together, so a little orange extract, maybe a teaspoon of that in here would probably be fantastic. Again, this looks a little grainy. I wish it were a little more glossy and smooth, but that's what we're about, is testing recipes, and this is probably how you're going to make it in your kitchen if you follow the directions like I did. This goes now in the fridge. I wish that were a little smoother. I surely do. We're going to make them into truffles anyway and see how it turns out. All right, I'm going to put this in the fridge for a little while. This is going to firm up in there so that we can scoop them out, roll them into balls with our hands like we're making meatballs or little clay balls, and then dip them in some cocoa powder and nuts. And I'll see you right back here in just a few moments. Hi guys, Editing Wes here. Just wanted to let you know that I obviously wasn't too pleased with the way this first recipe turned out doing it in the microwave. The ganache just wasn't as smooth as I'd hoped. So I refilmed this using a saucepan on heat, which you're going to see now. I'm going to cut this down for length, but I just wanted you to see that there was a second attempt, same ingredients, same methods, just doing it on the stove top to see if we got a better result this time around. All right, back at it. So I weighed that out on a scale, and I have now heated that. You do not want it to come to a boil, but you do want it hot, which it is now hot. I'm going to turn the burner off heat, and all this goes into your cream, and you do not stir it yet. You just sort of let it melt there before we start to whisk. And once it's all kind of soft, we are going to take a whisk to this and gently whisk it. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and do this now. Again, don't get too rambunctious. You don't want this to seize on you. And to this, we want to add in our butter. And again, this is 1.5 tablespoons of butter cut into smaller pieces. Okay, into the fridge. I'll meet you back here for our second recipe. All right, guys, so let's get started on our second recipe. This one has the unusual ingredient in it. Now, before we begin, I need to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of this video, Element. Element is a zero sugar electrolyte drink mix that's free of artificial colors and dodgy ingredients. It's formulated for anybody on a mission to restore health through hydration and is perfectly suited for athletes, people who are fasting, and those of us following keto, low-carb, whole food, or paleo diets. If you've been watching me on other social media, you know that I have sort of taken up cycling as a lifetime sport for me. The first time I've ever really felt connected to a form of exercise. And so hydration is particularly important for me during that moment, as well as just keto life. You know that you need to increase your salt intake to help you way through those keto flu and the low carb flu that so many people experience. And so it's easy for me to take a 1-stick pack of Element with me on the road when I'm biking. So right now, Element has a fantastic deal for the Highfalutin low carb community. You can get a free Element sample pack when you make any purchase through my link at drinkelement.com/HFLC. That's drinklmnt.com/HFLC. The Element sample pack includes 1 packet of every flavor, which is perfect for anybody that's interested in trying all of the flavors, or if you want to introduce a friend to Element. This offer can be claimed by first-time and returning Element customers, but it is only available through my link in the description below at drinkelement.com/HFLC. So thank you, Element, for sponsoring this video. Guys, if you want to support me, go check out what all the fuss is about. See why so many people, so many athletes, so many Olympians, and so many keto followers enjoy Element. All right, let's get started on this second recipe. Okay guys, so this is Keto Chocolate Truffles, and this is by the website Delish. And this is going to take all the guesswork that you saw me do with the cream and the other version, and it replaces it with an unusual ingredient, and that is the avocado. Chocolate and avocado. Well, I've seen recipes and tasted recipes that are quite good for chocolate pudding, chocolate cream pie, and brownies that have avocado as the cream base. So that's what we're going to do. And so you just need one ripe avocado. This one is a little on the firm side, so I hope that's going to be okay. And you just want to mash this in a bowl. I'm going to go ahead and get that started before I melt the chocolate. So let's just do that now, and I'll speed through this. Okay, so our avocado is well mashed. Use a fork, push it up against the bowl really well so that you get it. I imagine you don't want big chunks of avocado, obviously, in there. But I'm curious if we're going to taste that in our chocolate. So now we've got about a cup of dark chocolate chips. Again, this is the Lily's brand. And I'm just going to melt this in the microwave until they're fully melted, 30-second increments, stirring occasionally between them, and I'll be right back when this is melted.
A few moments later.
Okay, so our bowl is warm. Our chocolate is fully melted. Look how smooth and creamy that is. Now, working pretty quickly, we're going to add in a little bit of salt. This is some kosher salt, and a little bit of vanilla. This is a teaspoon of vanilla extract here. And then we're going to just throw in, oddly, our avocado. It's been mashed, and we're going to combine this, and then this just goes to sit in the fridge. That seems so odd, it really does. Again, this isn't a first, I don't think. So give this a stir to combine everything well, and then we're going to put this in the fridge for 15 to 20 minutes just until it sort of thickens up, and then we're going to also roll this in some cocoa powder and some other things. I do like that this method eliminated the cream, which sort of was the variable that created our lumpy ganache. Now our ganache is lumpy, but it's because it's got avocado in it, not because I've broken it and it's seized up on us. So I'm just going to use my impeccably clean fingers, get all this chocolate out of here. And in the fridge, this is going to go. I'm going to wash up, clean up, not taste that because I don't want to ruin the surprise, because you know I'm going to stick my finger in my mouth. Wouldn't you? All right. This is going to, whew, that bowl's still warm. Going in the fridge. I'll meet you right back here, get cleaned up, and we're going to, in about 15 minutes, scoop these out, make balls, and make truffles. And I'll meet you right back here. All right, guys, so let's begin with our creating the truffles from our first recipe. Truth be told, I'm not real proud of either one of these. This is the first recipe, the Fit to Serve group, that we used cream to make the ganache. And I believe that it's either a technique that I am not very good at, or something happened. We did it, the first one, this is the first one we did in the microwave. It has held together a little more. It's kind of lumpy, but it's been cooling in the fridge. And then this is our second one, and it did exactly what they said we didn't really want, was the butter to make an oily sheen on top. A candy maker I am not, so we'll chalk this up to my personal error, but we're going to try both of these to see which gives the better result if it happens to seize. So working quickly, we're going to try to get, you don't want it to be, it can't be rock hard, and it can't be too soft to not roll in a ball, and it can't be too rock hard to scoop. So I'm going to just, it says to go ahead and scoop out some of these before you begin to roll them with your hand. So that's what I'm going to do. You don't want it to be too sticky. This is sort of crumbling apart, but I'm just going to get a few, let's do 8 of each. One recipe makes 16 truffles. This is our second recipe. It is a little firmer. I'm going to try to avoid that big globs of butter. We should be able to fairly easily tell the difference. These are going to go back in the fridge for just a moment after we've done our magic with them, I believe. Trying to avoid the wads of butter I've created. Easier said than done, though. You can also just use a tablespoon or a melon baller. It said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, again, impeccably clean hands. I'm going to start over here, and we just want to, like you're playing with Play-Doh, create a small ball, put them right back on the tray. Try to touch them as little as possible because you obviously don't want your hands to be make it too soft. This needs to sit on parchment paper or a seal pat or wax paper or something so that it doesn't stick directly to your pan, which the pan was chilling in the fridge with these. You want your pan to be kind of cold. Helps it all just sort of stay together. Okay, so to this, I'm going to do half of them, roll half of them in cocoa powder, and then half of them in crushed pistachios just to try two different things. So we're just going to do this and get them coated. So I did notice that the second batch were much oilier. That's that butter that didn't incorporate fully. So we actually may have done a better job of creating a ganache with our first recipe than we did the second one that I thought would have been the proper way. Again, I am not a chef. I'm not a candy maker. I'm just a home cook. But I had trouble with that first recipe, but I'm not discounting it yet because it may turn out to taste wonderfully. So I'm going to do a few of these. They'll probably have to be rolled a second time because you do like them to be kind of have that light cocoa powder mix. So I'm going to speed this up. We've done 4 of those. I'm going to do 4 of these, our second batch. Okay guys, so we are back and we're going to now cover and coat our second recipe. This is the Delish recipe that was made with avocados. It is set up and it's fairly firm. This recipe, you get 15 of these out of here. So I'm just going to go ahead and try to serve up about 15 of these. My others were a little large, probably should be about a tablespoon. This is a cookie scoop, which is slightly larger than a tablespoon. It's about a tablespoon and a half. But as long as you're, I think, roughly on size, your macros should work out. So I'm going to go ahead and do this, and then I'm going to roll half of them in the cocoa powder, just like the other ones. And see, I see some avocados. What's that going to be like? If you handed these to somebody and they saw a big old green clonk in it, what would they say? Maybe the pistachios will hide that since they're green as well. We'll see. All right, so I'm going to let these also firm up. As you can see, I didn't have to do a double dip of the cocoa on these. There was no oily discharge that absorbed a lot of the cocoa powder. So I'm going to put these in the fridge for just a few minutes, and I'm going to get cleaned up here. We're going to test them, and I'll let you know what I think. So I'll meet you back here in just a few minutes. All right, guys, so we are back now to taste our truffles. And these have been in the fridge for about 15 minutes, and they are ready to go. Our first pan, remember there are so many because we did multiple versions. The top half are the ones that I did in the microwave and it sort of seized. The bottom half are the ones I did in the pan as the original recipe said. It said both, you could do both ways, but I tried it both. And these were the ones where the oil separated on top. Either way, the cocoa powder has sort of absorbed into those. But they look okay. I would roll these again in cocoa powder before I served them. Our second batch here, this is those are beautiful. It's from Delish, the ones that are made with avocado. And let's talk about the nutrition before we taste these. The first batch makes 16. Again, remember this is half of each 2 batches. So the first batch makes 16. If you eat one of these, and this is with the cocoa powder, the adding pistachio or nuts or coconut are going to change your macros by the amount in the nuts. But if you make it as directed with cocoa powder, 1 truffle is 57 calories. You've got 5 grams of fat. You've got 2.2 grams of carbs. You've got 1 gram of fiber, so that's 1.2 grams of net carbs, and 1.4 grams of protein, and that's per truffle. And our second recipe over here, this is by delish.com. The first one, remember, was Fit to Serve Group. The second one by Delish, it makes 15. If you eat one of these, it's 98 calories. You've got 7 grams of fat. You've got 1 gram of protein. You've got 5 grams of total carbs, 3 grams of fiber. So that's 2 grams of net carbs per truffle. So pretty close. So most importantly, what do they taste like? I'm going to roll 1 more of these in cocoa powder so it can look like it's supposed to, and then leave a few of these for me to take my thumbnail with. So that looks pretty good. I don't know if it's going to focus on that. Kind of looks like an avocado pit. It's rather firm. It has held up well. So what's it taste like? Creamy inside. Ooh, they are messy. The amount of cocoa powder, raw cocoa powder on the outside is very tart. You know, cocoa powder can be bitter, and it is. I want to compare that now to, let's roll 1 more of the ones that we did with the second try of these, just to see if they got any better. I'll try to knock some of that cocoa powder off because, whew, it'll light you up. The texture of that first one was not grainy, did not taste seized at all. It's a dark, definitely a dark chocolate. So is this one any different? Same. Good. Messy. I like that. Just for good measure, let's taste one with the pistachio. I love pistachio. So how does that change things? There was no difference in the interior of those really at all. Whether you did it in the microwave and I thought it had seized versus the oilier version in the pot, no discernible difference in texture or flavor. I much prefer the pistachio that has a little bit of saltiness to it. They were lightly salted and dry roasted pistachios. Cuts through that deep dark chocolate very well. The cocoa powder lays a blanket of cocoa bitter dust on your tongue before you fight through that to get to the actual truffle itself. So personal preference, I would do the nut coating. So our second recipe, let's see what these are like. I'm very curious with the avocado, right? So let's taste one of the cocoa powder version. These are a little more appropriately sized. I did a little better job of sizing these. Does it taste like avocados? No. Okay. Hold on. Those were great. I could not taste avocado at all. I did get some, it's called for kosher salt. There was a little bit of a crunch of a salt. I didn't dislike it, but if you don't like salted things that have a crunchy, salty coating, I would use a finer grain salt. Definitely got the cocoa powder bitterness. So let's do one real quick with the pistachio. It is a softer texture than the other one. I don't dislike this one at all. Hold on. But hide my face. Okay. Both of these are great. Both of these are good. They're not fantastic. I will be honest and say I preferred the texture because it's firmer and feels like a chocolate candy. I preferred the texture to in the first recipe. Both of those, whether I did it in the microwave and thought it had screwed it up or did it in the pot and thought I'd screwed it up, both of those internal textures turned out more like a restaurant made or professionally made truffle. I preferred that. The second recipe was softer in texture. I did not taste avocado, but it wasn't as cohesive a ball of interior truffle that you kind of You want to see your tooth, I do, when you bite into a truffle, you want to see your teeth marks slide through the chocolate, right? It should be smooth, it should be creamy, but it should fight back a little bit and give you something to chew. The avocado version didn't do that. The avocado kept it softer. Did it taste like avocado? No. Did it taste bad? No. It was great. Was it easier? I thought so, yes. But if I were making these again, I probably would go with the original version. Personally, for me, would skip the cocoa powder. I don't want, it's like when you eat a Dorito and you lay the Dorito on your tongue, the orange dust coats the tongue. And we probably, some of us like that, you know, for better or worse. The cocoa powder just slathers your tongue, gets all over your hands. It's a mess. I just didn't care for it. I much preferred the crunchier nut exterior. You could use coconut, sesame seeds, hazelnuts, macadamias, whatever you want. I would just do that personally for me and forego the cocoa powder. So yeah, there you have it. Chocolate truffles, low carb, keto. Can it be done? Yeah. Can it be done with an avocado? Yeah, kind of. Can it be done with the cream? Probably a little better. Yeah, I think so. So there you have it, folks. Thank you for joining me. I say this every time. These videos are a way for me to maintain my low carb way of eating, and looking in the end of that camera as often as I can helps keep me honest. So I appreciate that you guys have come along for the journey. If you're new here, I'm going to ask you to hit the subscribe button. If you're not new here, be sure you've hit the subscribe and the bell button down below, so it'll let you know just as soon as I release a new video. I'm kind of sporadic on that. The easiest thing you can do to help me if you like this would be to hit that thumbs up button. It lets the YouTube algorithm know to share this with other people who might like this content. If you don't follow me on social media, I invite you to follow me over on Facebook and Instagram. It's just Highfalutin Low Carb over there, just like it is here on YouTube. Talk a little more frequently, talk a little more freely. As I mentioned earlier with Element, the biking and all of that has become a sort of a passion of mine, and I share a lot of that and the way I'm training for the charity ride that I'm doing this summer of 545 miles in 7 days from San Francisco to Los Angeles for AIDS Life Cycle. If you want to follow all that, hit me over on social media. And speaking of Element, I want to thank again my sponsor, Element, for sponsoring this video. Thank you so much. I say it all the time. Sponsorships aren't why I do this, they're how I do this. So sponsorships like Element are really important to this channel. You can get a free Element sample pack when you make any purchase through my link at drinkelement.com/HFLC. So thank you for stopping by there. Lastly, I want to thank my rock stars, my Patreon members. If you don't know what Patreon is, think of it as the tip jar for the internet. It lets people like you who enjoy what people like me do here on YouTube. You can give $1 or $2 a month just to keep the train on the tracks and get some more interesting information over there. So you'll see their names start to scroll over here. If it weren't for them, none of this would be possible. They truly are my rock stars. So thank you so much, guys. I'll see you very soon in another video. And remember, today is a good day to have a good day. Bye-bye.